The protagonist of this story is reborn as Moon Campbell, the son of a powerful duke. His real name from his previous life, unknown. But what makes things even more interesting is that Moon isn't just any noble. He plays a crucial role in the novel he once read in his past life. There's just one problem. Moon Campbell is destined to be a complete fool. In the original story, he's nothing more than a brainless noble doomed to exile. And no matter what he does, his fate seems set in stone. But Moon refuses to accept that. Armed with his knowledge of the novel, he is determined to find a way to outsmart fate, protect his family, and influence the story, without breaking the storyline completely. Can he pull off this impossible challenge? Or is he doomed to follow the script? No matter what, it's a long shot, but he's willing to risk it all. As the morning sun bathed the luxury manor known as the House of Campbell in golden light, our protagonist looks disheveled in his lavish bed, grappling with an unsettling reality. He had died at the hands of Truculent. A sense of disorientation washed over him. Had he traveled through time? The opulent surroundings hinted at a middle-aged style, far removed from his own era. A quick glance in the mirror revealed a teenage face, likely 17 or 18 years old. But whose body was this? Where had he ended up, he wonders. His reflection revealed a handsome face, reminiscent of his own youthful features. Memories of the accident flooded back. Truculent's sudden appearance, the impact, and then, waking up here. Was it all a dream? In need for answers, he grabbed a knife and made a small cut on his finger. Blood splattered, and he winced in pain. It was real. This body, this life, it was all real. Suddenly, memories of the body's previous owner surfaced. The host was named Moon Campbell, a noble wronged by the royal family, reduced to a commoner, and ultimately exiled, becoming a beggar. Realization hit him like a bolt of lightning. He had been reborn in the body of the yellow-haired villain, worse than a monster in his favorite novel. In his previous life, he avidly followed the trending web novel The Strongest Female Protagonist. The story revolved around an illegitimate royal child who grew stronger, slayed monsters, defeated the demon lord, and emerged as a hero. But Moon Campbell was no hero. He was a brainless villain who used his family's influence to send assassins after the female protagonist, inadvertently making her stronger. Eventually, Moon's family fell, and he was forgotten as a beggar later in the story. Worry gnawed at him. Why hadn't Moon Campbell chosen to be a good young master? Why was he reborn as the most useless character, and not the protagonist? Panic set in as he pondered his next move. Before he could think further, a knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. A beautiful maid with black hair, his personal maid, entered the room gracefully. She greeted, and she brought the clothes he'll wear for the banquet tomorrow. He scratched his head awkwardly, still trying to grasp the situation, noticing his injured finger, and asked about it. It's no big deal, he replied, requesting a bandage, but seemed somewhat confused. She don't understand, addressing Moon. She can stop the bleeding, she said, while kneeling before him. To his surprise, she affectionately licked his bleeding finger, causing a virgin like him to blush with embarrassment. Your blood is precious and shouldn't be wasted, she remarked softly. She adds he shouldn't hurt himself. His mind raced with thoughts, but he promised to remember her words, and announced her departure, and he thanked her for her hard work. Once she left the room, he couldn't contain his excitement. Had he been transported to another version of the story? Blushing uncontrollably, he mused about Anne's cuteness and gentle demeanor, a real wife material. Meanwhile, outside the room, and paused momentarily, wondering if her young master had truly acknowledged her. Back in his room, our hero lay on his bed, pondering why someone so handsome and wealthy would want to be a villain. He recalled the cause of Moon's demise, provoking the third princess during his coming-of-age ceremony. Armed with this knowledge, he could change Moon's fate by avoiding the princess and steering clear of trouble. He needed to know the date of the coming-of-age ceremony to plan his next move. Remembering the clothes for the banquet, he realized with horror that the event was the next day. He cursed loudly, clinging to his legs while sobbing. Desperation led him to call out for a system, a goddess, or anyone who could help. In his previous life, he had been lucky enough to draw 5 golden cards out of 10. Maybe he had some kind of cheat here too. With a sigh, he acknowledged there was little he could do now except apologize and hope the princess didn't hold past grudges. If the worst happened, he was prepared to kneel and apologize wholeheartedly. Suddenly, something struck him on the head, causing him to bleed slightly. He complained about the pain, wondering what had hit him. Spotting the object, a book, he expressed disbelief and excitement. Holding the book, he realized his cheat had arrived, And so, the first chapter ended. Moon hugged the strange book, feeling a glimmer of hope. Perhaps God hadn't given up on him despite his fate to be a beggar and a loser. With this cheat, everything was different now. Throwing aside his plan of apology, he felt reassured that fate was in his hands. Eagerly, he opened the book, his eyes wide with anticipation. But to his horror, the book was empty, not a single word or image inside. Bewildered, he held the book sideways, pondering if there was a special way to activate it. Given the novel's medieval setting, he was unsure. As he pondered, a drop of blood from his injured head accidentally fell onto the book. At first, he was surprised to see the book emit dark energy. The next moment, he was terrified as the book began flipping its pages by itself. His blood was being drained into the book, and slowly, Moon began to lose consciousness. Somehow, he found himself in a dark room, bound by chains. When he opened his eyes, trying to understand what was happening, he was greeted by a mysterious girl who had been waiting for him to wake up. He was taken by surprise, but soon, he noticed the pain from the chains. The strange lady explained that the pain was inevitable, adding that she was just teaching him a lesson. She touched his masculine body with her finger, expressing disappointment. Moon's supposed to be cruel and evil, bringing pain to others and making everyone hate him. But he is changing, and that worries her. She can't afford to lose him, she said, but not to worry. No matter how long it takes, she is ready to cleanse him over and over again because she loves him. They are destined to be together, and not even death can separate them, she added, leaving Moon desperate and pleading for help. Before anything could happen, he suddenly woke up abruptly. Startled, he contemplated his situation. Holding his head, he realized it was a dream, but the lingering pain in his hand felt real. Was it a vision of the future? Holding the book, he recalled the events and wondered if the dream was caused by something he had done wrong. When he opened the book again, he was stunned. This time, a message was written, warning him not to change his fate. Immediately, the book retracted and entered his head. Moon, now expressing confusion, wondered if this was a warning that he couldn't change the original plot of the novel. Otherwise, he would face the ending he saw in his dream. He pondered why he should face such a tragic outcome. Staring at the horizon, he realized it was wishful thinking to change his fate, and that he had to stick with the storyline. Just then, it struck him. In the novel, Moon was only an exiled beggar but never died in the end. The reason he became a beggar was that he was a useless rich kid who had no idea how to make money. But our hero came from a modern society with experience. When he became exiled, he just needed to start from scratch in another country, using his modern knowledge. Being a noble was just a status and a privilege by exploiting working people. As a genius with a strong work ethic, he was confident in using his knowledge and his own hands to create wealth. In the next scene, Moon Campbell was enjoying his meal, realizing he had never had such delicacies in his previous life. Everything smelled and tasted delicious. His mother, the Duchess Novi Campbell, noted how unusually happy Moon was today. His father, the Duke of the Leopold Empire, remarked that the reason must be the coming-of-age ceremony, one of the most important banquets in his son's life. Our protagonist nodded, addressing his parents and stating he was looking forward to it. Like every mother, she went on a long compliment, noting how handsome her little Moon had become, and how he is sure to be the center of attention of many girls at the banquet. But his father noted that it was impossible since Moon already had a fiancé who might get jealous if that happened at the banquet. Then she pouts like a stubborn child, stating that the princess, their son's fiancé, didn't deserve him because of her cold temperament and wasn't cute. Advising his wife not to say such things, the Duke defended the princess. However, Moon watched with a smile but was worried inside. The princess, Celia, his fiancée, was the third princess of the empire. Blessed by the gods, and a mage prodigy, it was not an exaggeration to call her the most beautiful lady in the kingdom. In the story, she gained attention because of her cold temperament, and was always the center of attention wherever she went. If only his parents knew how rotten their son was. Not to mention they were the only ones who treated him like treasure. As our protagonist took his leave, he mentally explained that the Campbell family would disappear based on the original plot of the story. Although he couldn't change his fate, he refused to accept this fact. If he couldn't change his fate, he would change the fate of others. Most importantly, the reason for his family's downfall was not tied to him, but to a setup framing his family for treason. He planned to find the mastermind. At sunset in the Leopold Empire, Moon contemplated his situation. The coming-of-age ceremony was imminent, and there was nothing he could do but adapt. For dealing with Princess Celia, he planned to drug her, but unfortunately, the host had no memory of good drugs. With his hand on his chin, he needed to find a way to sneak out. The novel noted that evil dealers gathered in the city. Lost in thought, he didn't notice the maid approaching. Accidentally, she spilled the Duke and Duchess's tea on Moon. Frightened and bewildered, the maid was shocked when Moon asked if she was okay. It took a moment for her to realize it was the young master. She quickly apologized, wanting to clean the mess. When she realized his clothes were stained, she believed she was finished. Holding her head, she pleaded for her young master not to punish her or send her to the streets naked. Moon couldn't help but wonder about the kind of impression he had left on the workers. He urged her to get up, leaving her wide-eyed while noticing she was feeling hot. Suddenly, bringing her close, he checked her body temperature, confirming she was under the weather and asking why she wasn't resting. A bit embarrassed, she explained it was because of his coming-of-age ceremony the next day. But he immediately reassured her that she couldn't work while sick. Right on cue, and arrived, and Moon noted it was perfect timing. After discovering her name was Noelle, he requested she take a day off, and reported about the event tomorrow and how all the maids were busy. If Noelle took a day off, the workload would be much heavier. Moon suggested she hire extra help. It wasn't impossible for them to do so. He didn't forget to instruct her to do it immediately because he needed everything to be perfect, ensuring nothing ruined the event for his guests, and lowered her head and affirmed his instructions. Both maids watched him silently as he left. When he was far enough away, Noelle reminded him of the times he hated the idea of hiring commoners, noting they were disgusting, and advised her to follow his orders and rest. As Noelle walked away, she thought about the sudden change in Moon's attitude. It seemed she had some hidden agenda, and she wondered about her future plans. Elsewhere, jewels were scattered everywhere. Moon tossed items out of a chest, hoping to find what he was looking for. To deal with his fiancée, he needed a special potion, difficult to find and expensive to make, causing it to be a contraband item. His eyes lit up when he found what he was desperately searching for, but noted that the host had been a real scumbag. The potion was only sold at the underground black market, and he had a VIP token. The scene shifted to a carriage at night. At Chessford, the Chamber of Commerce, Moon instructed the driver to wait, explaining he needed to buy jewelry for his parents. After stepping out of the carriage and out of sight, he immediately dashed to a turn. Following a path, he recalled that in the novel, the passage to the black market was through a sewer outside the royal city. Walking with his light torch, he wondered if he had arrived as he spotted a masked hooded man. The man immediately asked for identification, and Moon recognized him as a sewer rat. Approaching the man, he showed his token and mentioned he was looking for the carrion. Realizing he was a guest, the man immediately opened the door and requested Moon to enter. Moon was bewildered by the fact that an entire market existed underground in the city, a place where different transactions were made, from ingredients for potions to the selling of magical beasts. Storylines from the novel flooded his head as he remembered one of the team members of the protagonist was bought here. But all these were secondary as he prioritized his main objective. Next, a bell rang as Moon entered one of the shops. The masked shopkeeper welcomed him enthusiastically. When asked what he wanted, Moon wasted no time, stating he needed a potion, colorless, scentless, and specifically for mages, putting them to sleep. The shopkeeper understood, noting he must be rich and wanting to use the opportunity to gain more profit. But Moon quickly turned to leave, clearly not willing to be played with. The shopkeeper pleaded for him to wait. She asked him to wait a bit while she provided the potion. As she searched, Moon noted the shopkeeper's secrecy, using magical processes to mask her voice, making it difficult to tell if she was male or female. From what he could see, he realized she must be a pretty lady. Managing a black market shop, dealing with all kinds of people, he wondered if making a connection with her would help in the future. She insisted that she needed more time, but our protagonist wasn't in a hurry. He waited patiently, taking in the bustling atmosphere of the small shop. Just then, the stall door creaked open, and another customer stepped in. The shopkeeper's face lit up with a welcoming smile as she greeted the hooded figure who had just arrived. The hooded customer, her voice soft but assertive, informed the shopkeeper that she sought a drug, one so potent it left no trace. The shopkeeper nodded, noting the potion was available but puzzled at its unusual demand today. Moon had already sensed the customer was a lady from her composed demeanor. He added, almost thoughtfully, that the potion wasn't harmful but worried about the potential victim since there was nothing he could do. The shopkeeper, sensing the growing interest, presented the potions to Moon, their vibrant colors catching his eye. Almost as if reading his mind, she reassured them that the potion was potent enough to knock an elephant out for 2 to 3 hours and remain undetected, especially if placed in red wine. Moon's eyes widened in astonishment. He asked if it was true. As the hooded customer inspected the potion, the shopkeeper assured him, adding that he could try the potion while he was asleep. Nursing costs will be charged per hour, though that was unnecessary on Moon's part. With the formalities out of the way, the shopkeeper stated the price of the potion, 130 kmiles, no bargains allowed. Payment could be made by cash or card. However, the lady customer stated she didn't have enough miles but intended to make payment through other means, leaving Moon surprised. She planned to exchange intel for the potion, but the shopkeeper noted that the potion's price wasn't trivial, requiring something worthwhile. Handing her an envelope, she reassured her that it contained information worth 130 kmiles and far more. This piqued the shopkeeper's curiosity. She checked the authenticity of the information but paused mid-sentence. The content intrigued her, yet she expressed some doubt. The lady customer reassured her that she could verify it herself, adding that she trusted her ability as a shopkeeper in the black market. The shopkeeper nodded in agreement and sealed the deal, noting the information's value and offering her the potion. Without hesitation and wasting no time, the lady customer took the potion and left. Moon, observing the transaction, handed her his card as the lady customer exited the shop. To his surprise, the shopkeeper offered him another potion as a gift. Curious, he asked about it. She shrugged and mentioned that she used it herself, and it created a better experience when paired together. Moon accepted the potions, thanking the shopkeeper. When he inquired about the hooded customer's information, she eagerly asked if he was interested. With a hand gesture, she offered to sell it since they were acquainted. Moon, unsure of the gesture, asked if she meant 90 kmiles. No, it was actually 900 kmiles. Moon wasted no time looking for the door out of the stall. As he departed, he thought about how the market was full of shady people, and he needed someone upright to trust. Otherwise, they would just use him like a cash cow. However, she waved him goodbye, telling him to come back next time. After some time, the shopkeeper gradually revealed her face. She hadn't expected Moon to hire commoners to serve at his coming-of-age ceremony, and the third princess would be one of the invited guests. Her main concern, however, was who to sell the information to. She imagined selling it to the second prince, who hated the third princess, or to Duke Raymond, who had conflicts with Moon's father, Duke Campbell, or perhaps selling it to both sides, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Soon, the day of the ceremony arrived. That night, in the Grand Campbell Manor, one of the guests attempted to introduce his daughter to Moon and his father. The daughter, however, avoided Moon's gaze while greeting, accidentally making eye contact before quickly bolting off with the excuse that her mother was calling her. Her father apologized, explaining that she was sometimes shy around people. Moon, on the other hand, assured him not to worry. After all, it was within his expectations. It wasn't just the man's daughter. Everyone felt the same. It was due to the host's notorious reputation. Duke Campbell then patted his son on the head, remarking that he was satisfied with his performance, causing Moon to ask why. With admiration, he explained that his previous worries were unnecessary. As for Moon, he should enjoy being the center of attention because it marked the day he would become a man of the Campbell family. Moon, now confident, assured his father that he would do his best. Just then, someone outside called for silence. The room hushed as the third princess of the empire made her grand entrance into the banquet. The author made emphasize that she is the protagonist's fiancée, one of the female leads, making her the center of attention. In the next chapter, the Duke told his son to welcome the princess, excusing himself to see the other dukes. Moon agreed, greeting the princess courteously. The princess noted that it had been a while since they had last seen each other, but Moon remarked that she looked as stunning as ever. Somewhat surprised by his compliment, she thanked him regardless, as such words were rare from him. Meanwhile, Moon couldn't help but notice her striking presence, especially those 2 assets. Playing his role, Moon asked if such a rare compliment meant he was someone rude. However, he was immediately caught off guard by her cold stare. Collecting himself, he suggested she rest from the long journey, as the banquet would start soon. As she walked away, Moon sighed in relief. She was so cute but scary, just as expected from the first female lead of the novel. As she exchanged greetings with other nobles, she noticed how different Moon seemed, unusually polite, which piqued her interest. Meanwhile, as the nobles conversed, Moon heard them talking about the illegitimate child of Count Bugard who had dueled her fiancé recently. Apparently, Count Bugard had made her the heir despite her being an illegitimate child and a woman. As the whispers grew louder, the subject of their conversation arrived at the banquet, drawing their attention to her. Moon knew she was the main protagonist of the novel, Ariel Bugard, alongside her companion, Leah Angel. Ariel greeted Moon casually while adjusting her hair with some kind of attitude. In the process of responding to her greeting, someone immediately called her a lowly bastard. A noble with glasses pointed at her, exclaiming that she had no right to speak to Moon, leaving him startled. Moon wasted no time in shutting the fool's mouth. With a nervous smile, he called her by name, Ariel Bugard, appreciating her concern for his well-being. This made her wide-eyed and astonished. Leah looked at her curiously. However, remembering how Moon had always been so rude and has brain cells of less than an ant, addressing her as a lowly illegitimate daughter and never by name, wondering if he was planning something. Suddenly, Moon extended his hand to Leah, addressing her by name, leaving her shocked to see Moon remember her. With a smile, he stated it was his responsibility to know all the guests attending his party. Before she could accept, Ariel slapped his hand away. Bluntly but firmly, she asked what he was up to. Giving him no time to respond, she coldly told him to listen. Expressing her anger with gritted teeth, she explained that the reason she attended his ceremony was because of her father. She warned him that if he had any ill intent towards Leah, she would never let him go. Without saying goodbye, she departed with Leah, who looked at Moon with a worried expression. Well, it was within his expectation. Ariel was the main character of the novel and a typical stereotype, making it difficult to convince her in a short time. After all, they were destined to be two parallel lives in the story. Time passed under the auspices of Moon's parents. He completed his coming-of-age speech, becoming the official heir of the Campbell family. As the guests applauded, he knew that, unfortunately, it was all for the night, and the storyline must remain intact. But at least it was over, and Moon sighed in relief. That speech was uncomfortable. Now on to his next business, his fiancée. After some time, he spotted her staring through the window. When he approached, he felt he had done wrong as the host to leave the princess alone. She was a bit surprised to see him. Before she could say anything, he invited her for a dance, making her even more surprised. She had no reason to decline, as it was his day and his coming-of-age ceremony. Their dance caught the attention of many people. Even Leah urged Ariel to watch. The author highlighted that they were the center of attention on the dance floor. Princess Celia started a conversation by complimenting his dancing, but he humbly downplayed it, noting he was still at the beginner level. She couldn't help but comment that he had changed. He asked if he wasn't acting as a noble should, but that wasn't the case. Moon's facial expression changed. When he asked for details on what she meant, she recalled his previous remark when he invited the Viscount's daughter to dance at the college ball. His exact words to her were that she should take pride in someone like him dancing with her, someone that other girls would beg for. It was no longer a surprise to him at this point. When she asked if she said it correctly, he apologized, noting he was wrong to say such things and suggested they forget about it. As the classic music from the orchestra played, Moon made a bold move, asking Celia to come to his room. She hesitated, noting they were engaged, clearly misunderstood. He clarified, stating that was precisely the reason and that he wanted to discuss it in detail, promising not to overstep any boundaries. Ending the chapter.